Hello everyone, welcome back to BT InfoSec. My name is BT and I'm going to be taking you through a particular lab called the detection lab today, guys. For this detection lab, this is a pretty good lab that it's going to give every new cybersecurity or even people in the field a very good experience. So this lab is pretty easy to deploy in your environment. So you don't need something too beefy. You don't need a server, just running um, just running maybe VMware, for example, or just running VirtualBox. You can run this lab in your environment. So I'm just going to take you with a brief overview of what a detection lab is all about. So the detection lab is a repository containing a variety of Packer, Vagrant, PowerShell, Ansible, and Terraform scripts that allow you to automate the process of bringing an Active Directory environment online, complete with login and security tooling using a variety of different platforms. Isn't that cool? Like first time I found out about Vagrant, I found out like this is so cool. Imagine running this script and at the end of the day it's going to install your virtual machine automatically. You don't need to do anything. Someone has already done the work for you. The world of we are today, it goes through a lot of automations. So automation is what a lot of people do. And the good thing about this lab is you can run it on VirtualBox. That's Windows, Mac OS, Linux. You can run it on VMware Workstation stroke Fusion with Windows, Mac, and Linux also. You can also run it on an Hyper-V, ESXi, AWS, and Azure. For those of you who use LibVirt or Proxmox, it's not officially supported yet. So I'm going to share this website for you in the description box below. This is a primary lab features. It shows you some of the things that are going to be installed in this lab. So I'm going to explain this for you with this diagram. But first and foremost, I want to give kudos to the author of this lab. Chris Long. This is the GitHub page. If you're looking for the GitHub page, all you need to do is just come all the way down here. The GitHub page is just right there. So Chris Long is the one who created this lab. Chris Long is a well-known security researcher, and he has done a lot in terms of giving back to the community. So for those of you who really enjoy this lab and you want to sponsor this project, Chris Long's, you can always click here to make a sponsor, so this is the GitHub page that talks about everything you need to know about the detection lab. They already put a walkthrough of step by step of how you're going to install this, but I just want to do it. I just want to have a video for you guys to see how you can install this from the start to finish. Now, going back to the detection lab. So now I'm going to show you what the detection lab is all about. So the detection lab, what this does basically, it installs a logger for you. It installs 4 virtual machines. One is a Ubuntu. It also installs a Windows Server 2016 for the domain controller, that's the DC. And it also installs Windows Server 2016 again for a WEF, and also installs Windows 10. So I'll start with the logger first. The logger is just talking about, this is Splunk, and it's going to install Splunk Enterprise for you, Suricata, Zik, Collide, Fleet, Apache, Guacamole, and these are all the services that are going to be running for you just by running this script. This is so cool. Yeah, this lab is basically like, if it's a full-fledged lab, but definitely we are in the IT business. Sometimes when you're trying to install some of these things, you face troubleshooting issues, and Chris Long has been able to help people in order to solve some of these problems. So if the Windows 2016 domain controller is going to act as a domain controller, it has ATA lightweight gateway. It also has Sysmon. It has Sysmon installed and enabled. It has OS query. It has VeloCrypto agents, and you can RDP into the domain controller also. So coming over here, the WEF, which is a Windows Server 2016, this is going to be serving as a Windows event collector. It also has Splunk Universal Forwarder installed in it. It has Microsoft ATA. It has PowerShell log collector. It has Sysmon, OS query, VeloCrypto agent 2, all installed in it. Then this is the Windows 10 VM, which simulates like a user desktop. and this has sysmon installed, it has os query, it has velo crypto and agents, so it uses WinRM to send the windows event logs via windows event subscription. It sends these logs down to the wef from the domain controller. Also, it uses WinRM to send these logs down over here. So it sends the logs all the way from here, and all these logs are being shipped down to the Ubuntu server. I think the WinRM here is just for you to for you to be able to log into this DWEF. Anyways, like this is something pretty fun, like first time I installed it, I really enjoyed this, and I found out that, man, this is something I need to share with the community of how you can install this. This is going to give you the full experience you need in terms of getting your cybersecurity skills up to speed. And just, this basically simulates like a real life security operations center in your own lab. Now, without further ado, I'm just going to dive into the step by step of how you're going to install this lab. So you're going to go down to the deployment here. So when you click on the deployment, for me, I'm just going to be installing this lab on a Windows VMware, basically. So because of I already have, you can install it on VirtualBox, but I have VMware right now. That's what I want to install it on. So first of all, if you supported versions is VirtualBox, it says a licensed copy of VMware Workstation, the VMware Desktop Vagrant plugin. It says install it with Vagrant plugin, install Vagrant VMware Desktop. Then additionally, the Vagrant VMware utility must also be installed. So I'm just going to take you through a step by step. So let's say, for example, you have no knowledge of, you've never deployed a lab before. So I want to take you through the step by step of how you're going to deploy this lab. So first and foremost, you're going to go to this website. You open this website. It says Vagrant Desktop. So you can click here to download Vagrant. So if you click on download, first and foremost, try to download Vagrant. For me, I already downloaded it, so I don't need to download it. You try to download the version that works well with your computer. For mine is 64-bit, so I downloaded the 64-bit and I installed this. For installing Vagrant, you don't need to worry, it's just for you to click next, Like, let me go down to my downloads page, for example. Like this is Vagrant that I downloaded, so if you want to do it, you just click next. It takes some time to install because Vagrant is a powerful tool. So it's just going to just click next. For me right now, it's going to tell me, do you want to repair or remove it? Because I already have it in my system. So now I'm going to cancel the installation. So just make sure the first thing you need to do is install this. Then we go back down here. After installing this, we go back to the website here, now let's go back here first. So it says, okay, so we're going to come down to this. So next thing you're going to install is the Vagrant VMware utility. So this one, I just clicked by opening this one. So you come here, you download this, and basically that's what I have here, the VMware utility. I already installed that already also, so I don't need to install it. Then the next thing you're going to do is to run Vagrant plugin install Vagrant VMware Desktop. So that is the command you're going to run. So like I said from the beginning, I'm going to imagine for those that have never deployed a lab before and you want to deploy a lab. So I'm going to go through some very basic steps. For those of you who understand most of these steps and you just want to get the step by step as fast as possible, you can skip the video as much as you can. But I'm just going to start from the basics for those who do not have the knowledge of creating a lab. So first of all, you're going to open PowerShell on your computer. PowerShell, you're going to run PowerShell as an administrator. It's going to ask you, do you sure you want to do that? And you say yes. Yeah, some people sometimes some people say, it's not a must for you to run this on administrator, but for me, I just want to run the administrator just to be on the safe side, because I don't want any problems that would deal with maybe permission issues in terms of admin user or regular user. So that's why I'm running as an administrator. Okay, so next thing, the next thing you're gonna do, I already did this before, but I'm gonna show you what to do. You're just gonna copy this command. This command is also the same command we have here, right here. Can you see? Vagrant install plugin, Vagrant plugin install Vagrant VMware desktop. So when you do that, you just copy it here and you click enter. For me, I already installed it already, so it's just going to tell me it's installing the Vagrant, and it's going to tell me, see, this can take few minutes, but at the end of the day, for me, I already installed it, so I don't think it's going to install anything fresh. So install the plugin Vagrant. It just tells you that. So this is done basically. So you don't need to close your PowerShell script. So now, another thing that's very important for those that have never deployed a lab before. I don't know if you've ever heard of Git, Now you've heard that you have to clone the repo in GitHub. Because if you look in here, I'm going to come down to this warning for you, but the instruction says ensure the prerequisites listed above are installed and that you meet the system requirements. So those system requirements are very important. I can open this in another page. Before you can run this lab, make sure that you deploy deploy the detection lab to your local machine as individual VirtualBox VMs or VMware Fusion. So for Fusion and Workstation, for me, Workstation is what that's what kind of points out to what I'm using. So if you take a look at this, so it says Windows, Linux, and Mac OS are all supported. It says VMware Fusion or Workstation. It says VMware Desktop Vagrant plugin. You must install that. That's what I showed you initially. The Vagrant VMware utility must be installed. Then I should have at least 55 gigabyte of free disk space. So you can have enough. You can do this you can install this on your personal computer. However, if you have an external hard drive, you can install it, but just make sure I recommend the hard drive to be SSD. HDD too is gonna work, but with my experience using HDD for some of my VMs, sometimes the VM just crash, and at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do. But HDD is definitely going to work. Now, for those of you that will use a desktop or a laptop, please try to make sure it's 16 gig RAM at least. Like 16 gig of RAM is highly recommended, because that is what is going to make this lab work perfectly well. So moving on to Vagrant, you have to download the Vagrant 2.29 Plus. So basically, that's what we downloaded. I showed you. You're gonna install Vagrant. Then it says Parker 1.6.0. So this is only required if you're building your own boxes. So we're not building our own boxes in this situation. And it says VMware Fusion 11 Plus or Workstation 15 Plus. Older versions may work, but are not tested. So you can test it on an older version. It may work, but they're not tested. But as for me, I'm using VMware Workstation 16, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, going back here right now. So if you take a look at this, the next thing we're supposed to do is to clone the detection lab repo to your file system. So for those of you that don't know, that kind of like you want to install this lab as a fresh, I know some of you, you might not have Git on your computer. So for example, if you type Git, for me, I have Git on my computer, it's going to bring it out. But for those of you, if you type this and you get the error, basically, it's just going to be like a red error. So it's going to look like something like this. Let me just type GOT first, for example. So yeah, it's going to look like something like this. No, GOT doesn't mean anything, but for those of you that don't have Git, it's going to give you something like it's not recognized and all that, just like what I put in here. So now, what I recommend for you is this. Go over to your computer, and when you do that, go over to Git. You can type it on Google, Git downloads. You go to download Git. If you're using Mac OS, Linux, or Windows, for me, I'm using Windows, so you click on Windows. So when you click on this, it comes up. Okay, we're waiting. Okay, so when this comes up, basically, so you can download for Windows, you can download 32-bit, 64-bit. For me, I downloaded 64-bit, and once you download it, Git is pretty straightforward. Let's say, for example, if you click on this and it downloads immediately, the next thing you're just going to do is pretty much easy, like the way we downloaded, the way we installed Vagrant. It's just click next, 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 next. It's pretty easy to install. You don't need any special skills to install this. I'm just going to show you. I already installed this, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. So it's just going to be click next, 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 next. It's pretty much the same thing. So I'm going to cancel this because I already installed it, but that is one thing you need to install. And that then what you do when you've done installing that, close your PowerShell command line, close it and rerun it again. So if you close your PowerShell command line and you run and you type git, definitely it's gonna work. Now, so that's something that is really important. Now, the next thing I'm gonna go through with you guys right now is this. Now, let's assume. So the next thing we're going to do now, let's go back to our website right here. Now, I'm going to go through this warning sign right now because this is very, very important. So if you have both VirtualBox and VMware installed on your computer, there's a recommendation that says make sure if you're installing VirtualBox, you have to disable all VMware network adapters that are running. If you're installing VMware, you have to make sure that you disable all VMware. If you're installing VMware, you have to make sure you disable all VirtualBox network adapter. This is pretty easy. All you need to do is go to your control panel. When you go to your control panel, it pops up. The next thing you need to do is you look for network adapters. So you could go to Network and Sharing Center. So when you come to Network and Sharing Center, the next thing you're going to do is go to Change Adapter Settings. So when you come to Change Adapter Settings, the next thing you're going to make sure you do is, like for me, I have VirtualBox running, but I disabled it. So all you need is right click and click Disable. So here it says Enable. I'm not going to enable it. So that is that about that. Okay, now, so we're going to close this. So once you're done with that, then you have fulfilled this particular criteria for this warning box. That's what this warning box is telling you about. Now, let's go to the next step. So the next step goes like this. Now that we are ready to install, we're ready to start our detection lab. All our prerequisites are done. Everything that needs to do. The first thing you need to do first is, what I'll do is, first of all, I'll try to go to the folder that I want to install this. You can install this on external hard drive, but for me, I'm installing it on a drive in my computer. Nope, not recycle bin. I'm installing this on the drive in my computer. So I'm gonna just what I can do is I already created what I can do is I can just make a directory called detection lab 3, for example, because I've done this several times. So I'm just gonna call it 3, so it's gonna be pretty easy for me to find. So I'm gonna say cd to detection lab, not 2. I want to go to 3. So right now I'm in detection lab 3. I'm gonna clear the screen. The next thing I'm gonna do right now, first and foremost, that you need to do. Now that you've done all the prerequisites, you need to make sure you run this script. So this script is going to be run after we have cloned the GitHub repo. So let's clone the GitHub repo first. So now if we come here, we put our command to clone the repo, which I didn't copy the first time. Copy. Just copy it, paste it here. Now let's clone our repo. So now your repo is going to clone because you have Git installed on your computer. I think for those who are using Kali Linux. I think Git comes installed already on Kali Linux. I'm not 100% sure, but let's see. Our repo is cloning right now. Depending on how fast your internet is and how fast your computer is, that's how that's how fast your cloning is gonna be, because the lab is pretty heavy. So now let's go. We click on this. Now our detection lab is there. We go to CD. We go into our detection lab. Come down here. So we're also gonna CD to Vagrant. Now there's nothing. I'm not doing anything special here, guys. So if you come over to this page, for example, everything is all written in here. It says using a terminal, navigate to detection lab / Vagrant repository and run. So it's basically nothing special. I just moved into that repository using my CD command. So now I'm going to copy this particular command. There's a script already running in here. Let me just click ls. So we have that script. Look at it, it's just right here. So now we're going to run that script. Let me copy it from here again. Sometimes you copy and it doesn't copy. Okay, so now we're going to run this script. So now this script is just going to let you know if your computer or your laptop is well prepared for installing the detection lab. Can't you see how cool this is? This is something that Chris Long has been able to work on for us such a way that if you're done with the prerequisite, you're going to run the script just to be sure your PC or your computer is ready to install the detection lab. So now let's run the script. So now the script is running. So now it says it's checking for necessary tools. It says your version of Vagrant is supported. It says credential guard is not enabled on this system and will not cause conflicts with VirtualBox. It says no custom Packer boxes found. So this basically is a Powershell script checking for some things on your computer that may stop your lab from running. So it says checking available disk space. It says C and D is pretty slow, but I'm not running it on C and D, so I don't need to worry. Also, it says the Vagrant Reload plugin is installed. The VirtualBox found. I have VirtualBox. VMware Workstation found. I have VMware. I'm not using VirtualBox. I'm using VMware. So also said Vagrant VMware desktop plugin found. That's the one we installed. It's a Vagrant VMware utility is installed. So basically, this is, if you see anything red, so I'm going to just take you down here. So if you see something like maybe that looks a little bit, doesn't look like something like this, or you try to read what is there. One good thing about this script is if there's something wrong, it's going to tell you what exactly is wrong. So now it shows that we are good to go for installing our Vagrant on our computer. Now, going on to the next step. So we are going to scroll down this page. And now it says at this point in time, there are two ways you can bring up a lab. We can bring up our lab, bring up the host one at a time using this vagrantup and provider this command. The provider options are VirtualBox or VMware_desktop. However, there is also a faster way explained below. So for you guys, I'm going to be showing you guys the faster way because I just feel this is a better way. It's a speed up installation by provisioning hosts in parallel. So, and for me, I just think, host in parallel, it's pretty much easier because if maybe you have a problem with a particular virtual machine, you can quickly destroy that machine and install only that virtual machine again, compared to like running the I think this command here is going to install the whole, like the 4 machines for you right away. So what we're going to do first is so it says here, alternatively, to speed up the provisioning process, we can bring up some hosts in parallel. To do this, I recommend opening 4 separate terminal windows. Open to detection lab / vagrant directory in terminal windows 1 and 2. So now this is what we're going to do. So we have one terminal opened already. We're going to go to our PowerShell. Windows PowerShell, right click, and we run as administrator again. We click this. So after doing that, next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure so now we have two opened, so we can open more. So again, so right click on this, run as administrator, yes, and we right click on this again, we run as administrator again. So we have 4 terminals running right now. That's what we need. So we need 4 terminals. I'm just going to minimize these terminals. So right now we have 4 PowerShell terminals open. Since we don't need this anymore, I'm going to clear this. So the first thing we're going to do right here is to run the Vagrant up logger. Now, for you to do this, you have to make sure you can run them simultaneously, but you need to run the Vagrant up logger first. While that is running, you can run the Vagrant up DC. Now, before you run the Windows 10 and the WEF, just make sure your domain controller is fully installed, because the WEF and the Windows 10 will need to connect back to the domain controller. And without the domain controller installed, it's going to give you some errors. So moving down here, so this one is already in the detection lab here. So let me go and copy this again. And it's always just easy to copy and paste instead of typing and making typographical errors. So I'm going to run this one here. Now it's going to start installing our Vagrant. Now you guys are going to see what is going to happen here right now. Just take a look at my Vagrant is running right now. See, it says bringing up machine logger, VMware desktop. Now I'm not doing anything. So the script, first of all, is going to download this from, it's going to download the operating system, and it's going to start installing it on your VMware workstation automatically. You don't need to do anything. It just starts running it for you right away. See, it's running it. I'm not doing anything. I didn't click on anything. It's running this for you, installing it right away. So you look at it right here. It says waiting for the VM to receive an address. Now, while this is running simultaneously, what you can do is, for me, I can just copy this just because I like some shortcuts. Now, so it's installing it. It says SSH method, private key, all these are going on. Now we go to our next window, just because we want to try to save some time and see how we can work with, because this takes a long time to install, by the way. This depends on how fast your internet is, and also it depends on how fast your computer is. So I'm just going to put this up here so you guys can see. So now, oh, okay. So let me just bring this down here. So this is installing. Now I'm going to CD to this, which I was supposed to put a space. So I CD to this, just pretty shortcut. I don't want to go through all the long journey of going from typing and all that. So the next thing I want to bring up is my DC, my domain controller. So right here. So the next thing, I'm just going to come back here and click on Vagrant up DC and just click enter. And once you click enter, right now our domain controller is going to start. So what it's going to do first is going to first download the domain controller from the Vagrant website. So it says cloning VM, detection lab, Windows 2016. This can take some time. See, checking if box is detection lab. This is verifying VMnet devices are healthy. Yep. So look at what is going to go on now, guys. This is my domain controller coming up right now. Now, I don't know how this really feels, but I felt like when I learned how to use Vagrant, I felt this was so cool, because this is something that, I'm still going to try to see how to learn more how to use Vagrant, in order to like spin up my own customized labs, So basically this is the DC running right now. this is going to take some time, so I would recommend you sit back, you relax, and maybe grab a coffee, you stretch your legs, and wait while Vagrant does everything for you. So once we're done with installing the domain controller and installing the logger, the next thing we're going to do is install our WEF and our Windows 10. So now let's wait. I'm going to pause this video while this is running, and I'm going to join you guys back when this is done. Okay, guys, so this is our lab. So after we ran the script, this is the continuation of after pausing the video. So we can see right here. One thing I want to let you guys understand is this: make sure when your logger script is done, you see the guacamole installation complete. Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean if you see this that the logger actually installs perfectly. However, when I installed it several times, sometimes it gave me some errors and it just stops running. But the times it worked perfectly well, I see this guacamole installation complete. So right now, I'll also come down here. You look at our domain controller. You see DC provisioning complete. You have to get that complete before you're 100% sure your script worked perfectly well. So if I come here and I send Control-Alt-Delete, you see this is my domain controller. If I log in like right now, so my domain controller has been provisioned, and same with my logger also. So if I click enter to log in, I think it's Vagrant and Vagrant, I guess. Yep, that's it. So just like what you can see here, right now, our logger is installed and our our domain controller is installed. So the next thing we're going to do right now is we're going to come over here. Okay, so now this is the other two PowerShell script that we opened. The PowerShell terminal, sorry, not the script. So right now we're going to go back to the website. Now our domain controller is running. So it says, before we can bring up WEF and W10 down Windows 10, we have to wait for the DC host to finish creating the domain. That is very important, guys. So now we can run the script. Let's go back here. Okay, I'm just gonna type it sometimes. So vagrantup WEF, and you run your script. It starts running right away. And let's come over here also. And we're gonna run Vagrant up Win10. So now this has started installing our Windows 2016 server, which is the WEF. And this also simultaneously, we are also going to run the Windows 10. So if you take a look at our VM here, so now you can see our WEF Windows server is started installing automatically. And same thing is going to go with our Windows 10. Our Windows 10 is coming up. Now, this is going to take some time. I think Windows 10 is the one that takes a longer period of time the most, but like I said, it depends on the speed of your computer. So if your computer is very fast, like my desktop here is a 16 gig RAM, it has 1 terabyte SSD and also has 256 SSD. So I have 2 SSD running in here, and I think the speed is 3.0 gigahertz. So depending on how fast your computer is, but it's worth the wait. Sometimes you have to wait and it gives you error. You have to run it all over again. However, right now our WEF is running, and the same thing is going to go with our Windows 10. So I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm going to pause this video just to make sure this is done. When it's done completely, I'm also going to come back for you guys to see the complete package, and I'm going to show you some other troubleshooting steps you're going to make sure you or some script you're going to run to make sure your lab is working, is functioning perfectly. Okay. I just want to show you guys right now. So when I paused the video, the Windows 10 didn't start. So now it started. So you can see Windows 10 is starting the VMware VM. So now you can see Windows 10 running automatically. Now the Windows 10 has started installing automatically with the Vagrant script, while our WEF right here is still installing. So I'm also going to pause it again, wait till the end to see what our final outcome is when we're done installing all our virtual machines. Okay guys, so this is the completion of our WEF provisioning VM, and we also have our Windows 10 right here. So like I said from the beginning of this video, just make sure you get the complete signal. You know, sometimes it gives you some errors, so you have to be 100% sure that it doesn't give you any error. So you have to double check that. So you have to double check it doesn't give you any error. So like right now, you can see our detection lab is running. So this is the logger. The logger is running. We have the domain controller right here. Our DC, if we open it up, send control delete. And I think the password is Vagrant. So it's right working. Now we move also to our Windows 10. Send control delete. Put our password Vagrant. And that is loading up. While that is loading, we go over to our WEF. So we send control delete just to unlock this. Let's check out Windows 10. Still coming up. Okay. So let's put our password Vagrant. Okay, so all our VMs are working pretty fine. So now guys, we go back to the website. Put this, let me minimize this. So let's go back to deployment. And we go back to Windows, deployment, VM VirtualBox. Okay, so now you see all our machines are running. You know, you can, all our machines are running right now. So basically, the next thing we're going to do right now is, you see, if all goes well, this process should continue for 1 to 2 hours. So I've been here for like 2-3 hours now, depending on how fast your computer runs, you know. So, so mine took me like up to 2 to 3 hours because I had to install it one at a time. And it says, depending on your computer and network speed, the boxes are very large, but only need to be downloaded once. You know, once you download it, you're pretty good. So there's a script also that Chris Long also added to this. So that way, you can check if everything was installed perfectly well. So basically, the next thing we're going to go is we're going to come back. So now we have all our success here. So we can use this terminal right here, and we can run this command. I just prefer copying and pasting commands. Copy, paste. Okay, now I pasted it twice. Okay. So we want to run our, so this script is just basically going to check if everything installed perfectly well. And this is the screenshot from the website, and this is our own script that we're checking. So now let's run this and see. Okay, so this is checking verifying VMnet interface. It says yes, so it's running. So Splunk is running and reachable. So everything shows it was installed perfectly well. So I just want to like point out something, guys. So VMnet 2 is the VMnet 2 has a static IP of 192.168.56.1. Most likely, if you're installing this for the first time, it's not going to give you, it's going to kind of tell you like there's an error saying you need to make it a static IP, and it's going to tell you, it's going to suggest this IP for you. Because for me, I had installed it before, then I destroyed my VM and I reinstalled it again. That's the reason why it shows this is correct. But if it tells you that you need to set the static IP to this IP, all you need to do is the same way I showed you. You go to your network adapter. So you go to control panel. You go to your control panel. I'm just going to show you guys how to change this. So you go to your control panel. You go to network. So when you go to network sharing center, when this opens up, you're going to go to change adapter settings. So when you go to change adapter settings, basically, you're going to check for VMnet 2. So over here, this is VMnet 2. So you're going to double click on this. Then you're going to go to properties. So when you go to properties, you're going to also go to IPv4. So this is where you're going to set the static IP. I already said this before, but I'm just showing you how you're going to set it. And once you set this to this static IP, all you need, you click OK and OK, and you close this, we close this. The next thing you need to do is to, after you're done doing that, just run your script again, and you're going to see everything is going to be green. Another thing, again, another tip I'm going to give you for troubleshooting, sometimes, if there's an error, Microsoft ATA doesn't install completely. So in that case, all you need to do is over here, you come down to the troubleshooting over here. So the troubleshooting here, it's going to show you some regular troubleshooting issues that people face when installing this lab. But what I recommend is there's this command here that says vagrant destroy -f logger vagrant up logger. So sometimes if, let's say for example, it's WEF that has a problem or Windows 10, you can put vagrant destroy -f, then put a space, then WEF, then you put vagrant up WEF. What it's going to do is Vagrant is going to destroy the VM and reinstall it for you all over again. And most times, it comes, when you do that, it comes installed successfully with all the services running. And sometimes if it doesn't, you have to try to see how you can troubleshoot this longer. So with this right now, this has shown us that our lab is working pretty fine. We can just go and test our lab. So let's go to introduction here. Can go back to introduction. And let's go to credentials, for example. So we go over to lab information and credentials. So because of all the labs here are static IP, so that's the reason why if you use the same URL, the same IP address, it basically gives you the same thing. So now we want to access our Splunk now. So let's take a look at, come over here, we paste this, and we press enter. And right now you see our Splunk is working from our browser, So we click proceed. Right now Splunk is coming up. a little bit slow for some reason, but our Splunk is coming up. While that is coming up, let's just go check let's check the credentials we're going to use to log in. Okay, no, that wasn't here, that's here. So we're going to use admin as the username and change me is the password. So now our Splunk is coming up. So we have Splunk Enterprise installed. So we put admin and change me is the password. So we click enter, sign in, and it's logging in. So right now we have all our VMs running. See, for some reason it's a little bit slow, but that's the reason why it says, you need at least 16 gigs. So this is our Splunk running right now. If we go over to Splunk, search and reporting, so this has shown us that our lab is working pretty fine. So if you want to open, so while that is loading up, I can open something else. I can open like maybe Fleet login, for example. You just copy this and you come over to your next, to a new browser and you post that. And now you see the Fleet is working. Everything is working pretty good. You can log into Fleet. While that is loading also, I can check something else. I want to log on to Microsoft ATA. So you can see this as this is loading up too, right there. So you can just check for the this is the username WEF-Vagrant. And the password is Vagrant. So let me log into this. Our Fleet is coming up. So Fleet is right here. The next thing, let's check our Fleet password. It's admin and admin123 # is the password. So admin. So like you just see all this password basically like our default passwords and they're pretty weak passwords. But this is a lab basically, it's a lab environment, you're not expected to have like very, very secured passwords. So you can see all these are all working perfectly well. You come here to Microsoft ATA, can you see? It says one domain controller, 5 users, 2 computers, and 49 groups. And these are pretty good things you can play with in your own home lab, And let's say, for example, you want to get to understand more about some of the services that were installed in here. All you need to go to usage, and you see there's Atomic Red Team that was installed here. You can click on here. It shows you what to do. It says you can invoke the Atomic Red Team, just to get some more knowledge of how this works, You can go here, see what Suricata is doing, Splunk, you can see Mimikatz, these are very, very good knowledge and a very good lab for you to play with your to gain a lot of cybersecurity skills, basically. I really recommend going through this lab. I really enjoyed, installing this lab and playing with it in my own environment. So I'll recommend this for anyone. And also, I'm also going to be showing you guys, let's say, for example, you have a problem with your lab and you want to destroy the lab, or maybe, for example, it's taking a lot of space and you want to uninstall it. There are ways of how you're going to install it. Let me go back to the deployment. So go back to VirtualBox VM for Windows. Then all you need to do is just to come down here to troubleshooting. So when you come down here to troubleshooting, you can see, so you get stuck and want to start afresh. It's just right here. So it says navigate this and run this command. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that in the next phase of this video. So yeah, I'm just going to take you through if you want to destroy this virtual machine. So we've created our logger, we've created the domain controller, we've created the Windows the Windows 10 win domain.local, which is DC. This is the Windows 10, sorry. Then this is WEF running. So you can see all our virtual machines are running properly. You can always log in if you want to. So let's say, for example, let me just log in to show you that this is working. And I think the password is Vagrant. See, this is working. So let's assume we want to destroy this. Okay, let's go back here. So let's assume we want to destroy this virtual machine. So if we go back to the website here, if you come to the deployment, and this is where the deployment that I just had a walkthrough for you guys, seeing how this is deployed. So you go all the way down the website. You could go to troubleshooting. You click on troubleshooting. Here you see some troubleshooting stuff and some issues. So let's assume your lab right now, you have some issues and you're trying to fix those issues, but those issues had some problems in you fixing them. All you need to do is you navigate to detection lab vagrant and run this script. So it says vagrant destroy-f. So it says to force destroy all VMs. Afterwards, delete the .vagrant hidden folder inside of the detection lab vagrant to ensure the VMs and their metadata have been properly removed. So for this, I'll recommend. So let me just put this down. So you just take a look at this. This is our VMs running. All I need to do is to paste our script. Okay, let me go. So it's vagrant destroy-f. So we type vagrant -f. So once we click this enter, this is like a kill switch basically. So before you delete this, and maybe for example you want to get rid of your VMs, just try to make sure you think very well before you run this script, because once you run this script, it's going to destroy all VMs. So let's do it. So when you click vagrant destroy-f, so now it's going to start destroying our VMs one after the other. So now we're waiting for the script to run. So now the script is running. So it says Windows 10 running cleanup tasks. Now that is getting rid of our Windows 10. So it's going to do the same thing for, you see how Windows 10 just went off right now. So it's going to do the same thing for every other machine we have running. Let me get this out of the way so we can see the script running. So now it's kicked out our Windows 10. This would have been faster. I wanted to show you guys how this is going to get rid of our VMs. This is a little bit slow because the VM is running. Basically, if we run this script while our VM is off, okay, so basically let me try to turn off our VM while this is running. This is power off. Let me come over here, click on power off, and now I want to power off this one. So now instead of the script to try to stop the VM, now we've turned off all our VMs. So the moment it's done getting rid of Windows 10, the other VMs are going to clean up really fast because now everything is off. So I recommend first thing you have to do is, if you want to delete your VM, try to see how you can turn off your VMs first before running that script. So I had to abort it. Let me run the script all over again. Vagrant is still being used. Let me try to run it again. So right now it's already deleted the Windows 10 VM. So that's why it says it's not created, because I ran that script initially before. It gave us this error because of the process was still running in the background. So right now it's deleting the WEF. It's running cleanup tasks for this. You see, these are faster now because the VM is not running. So my recommendation is try to make sure the VM is not running before you run this script. So now if you click on our VM now logger, see what it tells you. Say you could not open view virtual machine logger. So all you need to do is just click remove. So now that we've done that, now let's go over here. We come down to where we saved it. So as for me, I saved this on one of the drives here. So I come over to detection lab here, go to detection lab folder, then you go to the Vagrant folder and you click this and you delete this file. So let me open the file before I delete it. So if you see, it says it has machines here. So just because you want to be sure that all your virtual machines are all deleted, you're just going to make sure you delete that .vagrant file like this. And now all our VMs are gone. So if you come here, you can just remove it, or basically just right click here and just click remove from your virtual machine, and all our VMs are all removed. So now maybe, for example, you had some issues, you can rerun this all over again if you want to, So okay guys, thank you very much for joining me today. This is a very good detection lab. Right now we already destroyed all our labs, and I can always go ahead and install it. Please like this video, please subscribe. If you have any question, put it in the comment section. This is something I'm really happy to look more into. And if you have any questions, some of the troubleshooting steps I ran while I was working on this lab, I can always share it with you. And please subscribe and share this video with your friends. And thank you for joining me. Have a good one. Bye.